Right, hey guys, how we doing? Back on another video from 6. You Hacker Show content, JJK content, let's go. Could Gojo win the Dark Tournament? So, interesting because I know that the author of JJK is heavily inspired by the author of Yu Hacker Show, Hunter x Hunter, blah blah blah. So, this is cool. Could Gojo win the Dark Tournament? I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, yeah, because no one can fucking touch him because it was limitless. Which is annoying because, like, I remember watching some of Six's videos for, like, Naruto stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but they're loads faster, but people are like, well, it doesn't matter how fast they are, they can't touch him, so they can't beat him. So it's just like, well, where does it go within the Yu Yu Hakusho verse? Like, who can some of these guys get past limitless? Surely they must. Otherwise, that's really fucking boring. Come on, guys, just open your eyes to it. Like, you know, everyone's always like, no one can touch him. Blech! But yeah, let's let's get into this. Could Gojo win the Dark Tournament?
On top of being one of Shonen's greatest tournament arcs, Yu Yu Hakusho's Dark Tournament houses some extremely capable fighters.
I did enjoy it. I thought it was great, but I enjoyed the final arc more than the Dark Tournament, if I'm honest. But I'm anime only, so.
From Hiei's Black Dragon destroying the tournament arena, Yusuke's body containing a small sun worth of energy,
Yes.
and Toguro unaliving tournament spectators by simply existing.
Yeah, he just drains all their energy away, doesn't he?
Gojo is going to have a tough time when being thrown into the tournament as a participant. Given Gojo's immense power and the multiple statement that he has to fight alone due to the lack of ability on the side of his friends and students, Gojo will enter the tournament as a solo team against the rest of them. You can use your
By
own
himself.
imagination
Oh, we're doing a, like, how it fits in the scenario thing.
on how Gojo got here, but any rules for losing the tournament as previously established will also apply to Gojo here. Most of the Dark Tournament
I'm loving the Yu Yu Hakusho theme being on in the background. It's so good.
came down to one-on-one elimination rounds anyway, which both works in Gojo's best interest and makes my job even easier when having to plan these matches out. Obviously, if I find it in character for Gojo or other characters to want to change the rules, then they are able to do that as per the actual tournament rules.
Okay.
Lastly, all characters will have access to their full ability kit, barring any resistances, of
We got red, blue, purple. My God.
course. With that being established, we can get started with the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like, as I greatly appreciate it.
Wow. Upped on the editing there. Sick.
Considering how us readers viewed the Dark Tournament, a lot of the teams in this aren't really known, so I'm going to have to shake things up a bit. I'm going to put Gojo on the same path that Team Yusuke was on in the tournament, and then have him fight Teams Yusuke and Toguro as sort of final bosses if he can actually make it that far.
Okay.
I'm sure most people probably already know about Gojo's Infinity, but I'm going to give another very brief description here, along with how blue, red, purple, and his domain expansion Unlimited Void work. Let's keep this simple. Gojo's Infinity allows him to remain untouchable as a sort of barrier. As things approach Gojo, they slow down by having their speed halved infinitely, which, if you're trying to land a hit on Gojo, can make it feel as if you made contact, but you really didn't. This is the neutral version of Gojo's Limitless technique. Blue is the amplified version of this technique, wherein Gojo creates a magnetic-like effect with it, or in other words, blue pulls you. When taking blue to max output though, Gojo has shown to be able to turn it into a deadly attack that can be used to literally explode his opponents, and to be specific, even an opponent that can heal instantly was one shot by this ability. This ability also allows Gojo to use high speed movement or teleportation whenever he uses hand signs. Red is limitless activated through reverse curse technique or positive energy. This is the opposite of blue, it just pushes. It's worth noting that this technique is likely 2 times blue at normal and max output, considering to make positive energy you have to multiply cursed energy against itself. That brings us to Hollow Purple,
Sorry, I'm paying very close attention to this.
Gojo's hardest hitting attack without question. This technique, as the name implies, combines both red and blue together. Motion and reversal. From that, an imaginary mass rushes forth. And if you don't know what an imaginary mass is, boring you with the details is going to be incredibly annoying.
I love it.
And in the series, it doesn't operate like that either. Just know if blue hits hard and red hits harder, then purple hits super duper hard.
Yeah,
and
really
like that.
hard.
Unlimited Void is pretty insane though. Once Gojo expands his domain, if you're caught inside, your brain is flooded with infinite information. To simplify it, making you
Like, hence why he only did it for like 0 point something seconds, because and then everyone in the train station were just unconscious for 6 months. Like, boom.
unable to move or do anything else. The only way out of this ability is to touch Gojo himself, but since you can't move, it's up to him whenever that happens.
Yeah, how do you do that? Yeah.
If you want a general benchmark of how much info gets dumped on a person, Gojo expanding his domain for 0.2 seconds flooded surrounding people's brains with 6 months of information.
There you go.
This isn't it either though. Considering you're stunned and brain dead for these few moments, Gojo is free to land whatever attack on you he so chooses, and there is nothing you can do about it. In the event Gojo's domain was to break, then his curse technique would be burnt out and he'd be vulnerable to any of the combatants in the Dark Tournament, or at least he'd be touchable by them. Before moving on to the tournament, let's establish a baseline of speed for both sides here. On Yu Yu Hakusho's side, I'm going to use Yusuke as a benchmark because he fought a lot of the people I'm talking about here, and for most of the people he didn't fight, it can be assumed he's stronger than.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
The outlier cases, since there are so few,
So we're going to use... Yeah, well, the main characters fought all the strongest people in it, so it makes sense. Like,
I'll get to them as they pop up while Gojo is doing the tournament. JJK and Yu Yu Hakusho aren't too impressive in terms of speed scaling in my eyes, but where
No, they're not actually. I think this is the most fairest comparison.
speed is concerned in JJK, Gojo can be safely scaled to most calcs due to his superiority over most of the verse. That being said, Mach 3 should literally be child's play for Gojo. Naoya was able to move this fast when becoming a cursed spirit, and Maki was able to easily evade his moves and even catch him at some
God, that every time. This is the scaling moment, isn't it, for speed?
points to tag him with punches. Reaction speed is far higher than this though, as both Hikari and Maki react to lightning on separate occasions. While neither were able to completely avoid it, applying context to both situations makes them both still impressive. Hikari had never seen Kashimo use a lightning bolt before and managed to react at the last second to avoid a direct hit on his head. Aside
But again, but you're the one that said that this is open to interpretation because it's a side angle. He might not have even dodged it all. He might have just gone for his arm. But anyway.
from that, Kashimo's lightning is sure to land a hit on you once his charge is put on you, so Hikari couldn't have gotten out of the way completely if he wanted to, but he still managed to avoid a lethal blow. Maki was attacked by Megumi's Nue, which randomly spawned and she had no idea was in the hands of Sukuna at the time. Despite this, she was still able to react and block the lightning bolt coming down on her, although this is presumably from a bigger distance than what Hikari dodged. It shouldn't matter though, since Gojo would be able to outperform Hikari in reactions.
Yeah.
Hikari's reaction feat is measured at anywhere from Mach 0.7 to Mach 4670.
Jesus
This is a massive discrepancy, as I'm 100% sure you noticed when I said the numbers, and it comes from people not agreeing on what Hikari was actually struck by. Some think Kashimo is using electricity rather than lightning, but I disagree with this for two reasons. Those being, Kashimo is called the God of Lightning,
It's in the name.
and when Kashimo strikes Panda with his bolt, it said verbatim that it's lightning that rends through the air. That being said, you could even push this to Mach 6855, but we won't go that far and say in terms of reactions, Gojo can react to things faster than Hikari, so higher than Mach 4670, just in some vague range.
Okay.
Yusuke is similar in terms of his ability to react to lightning, as we saw in his fight with Suzaku. However, unfortunately, this speed is not consistent for the verse at all. I did a full video on how strong Yusuke is, you can check that out if
Great video. Check it out. I did a reaction to it.
you want to, but in it, I conclude Yusuke's lightning timer reactions are inconsistent because of him getting beaten up by Toguro at 20% and then blitzed by him at 60%. When Toguro claimed it would take him 3 minutes to destroy the entire building they were in, which looked to be a standard parking garage type building. And someone with Toguro's destructive capacity, speed, and attack potency, if he was really zipping around at lightning speed, would drop the building much quicker than 3 minutes. Toguro and Yusuke, both by the end of the Dark Tournament, should far surpass Hiei slashes against Sairyu, which are measured anywhere from Mach 29 to Mach 39 at the high end,
Right.
meaning they likely strike quicker than Gojo can, considering the highest we'd be able to show for Gojo is some quicker, unquantifiable amount faster than Mach 3, unless you wanted to put him able to attack as fast as Hikari could react to with Kashimo's lightning strike, so his striking speed would be in the range of about Mach 4670, just like his reaction speed. Nonetheless, this leaves us with some of the weaker fighters in the tournament being able to strike faster than Gojo at the lower end, but at its max, he's striking faster than they could likely even perceive at Mach 4670. This being said, since we're putting both Team Yusuke and Toguro at the end as final bosses for Gojo, we're going to be taking them at their tournament strongest, since they don't get a chance to fight and improve in this timeline. All the other teams will be as they were in the original story, so we can get started with Gojo versus Team Roku Yukai. Gojo's best bet in a situation like this would be to propose a 1-on-5 and use his domain expansion once they all close in on him.
Damn. Okay. Good start. Good start.
But given the lack of general teamwork this team seems to have, I highly doubt they'd agree to this rule. They decided their team order based on rock, paper, scissors, and they didn't let their strongest man fight, that being Chu. So doing what's tactically the best isn't always going to be at the forefront for these guys.
Oh, so choose the guy that comes in afterwards and like just kills the guys turning off. Right.
As well as two of them straight up winning.
I'm terrible with
the fight
names,
after
so I
seeing
need
the
to
captain
see.
lose, although he was the second strongest on the team. That being said, this is probably going to go down in a series of one-on-one fights. Gojo could move his opponents around with blue to keep them out of bounds, and the only ones who he should even have a little bit of trouble with in this speed department are Chu and Zero, considering their fights with Hiei and Yusuke, which should obviously scale them to the Mach 29 calc I mentioned earlier. Now, like I said, if you think Gojo can strike as fast as Hikari can react, this would be absolutely nothing, but regardless of that, Gojo should have no problem with reacting to them, and since blue is just gravity altering, it should be able to keep them out of bounds, if Gojo so chooses, or if he can get them in a teleporting circle, he could send them away. Same goes for if he happens to just teleport them away with himself. So this round goes to Gojo pretty easy. Next is Gojo versus Team Ichigaki. These people literally fight as a team, so the plan for
Oh, yeah, this is a hard one. But again, as well, there's no like emotion involved either. They're just purely fighting. If they're using them that way, actually, as well.
Gojo's domain expansion should work pretty easily here. None of these guys have a way to bypass Gojo's infinity, and using domain would be fine here, considering his burnt out curse technique would be easily refilled by the next time he has to fight. No one would know what happened, considering you can't see what happens inside of the barrier, but basic thinking skills is that these guys went into this black bubble perfectly fine, and then they couldn't move anymore, and that's if Gojo didn't decide to use hollow purple on them to destroy their bodies or anything. So it would at least make it to where the smarter teams wouldn't want to engage Gojo in a team fight, so as to remove domain as an option for him. I know they don't know about curse technique burnout, but Gojo most certainly does, and I don't think he'd use his domain on one person, knowing he definitely has more people to fight afterwards.
Yeah.
And his curse technique will be burnt out, and thus he'll be vulnerable to their attacks, blah blah blah. We do know that Gojo can replenish a burnt out curse technique, as shown in the Sukuna fight, but we do also know that he can only do this a total of 5 times.
Yes.
The next team up is the Shadow Channelers, and since they prefer one-on-one elimination, that's what we'll go with here. Gamma is their first fighter, and he's completely useless in this fight. His body art won't work on
Oh yeah, he's God.
Gojo because he doesn't have the means to touch him.
Yeah, like the paint needs to be on them, doesn't it? And it's no.
Toya will similarly be dealt with easily. The only reason she was able to make any progress on Kurama is because of what Gamma had done, and even then,
Yeah, it was like adding on to the damage that was done from previous
she
fighter,
still
wasn't
got
it?
beaten. And this is on top of not being able to bypass Infinity. Bakukin seems to be even weaker than Toya, but I can't really tell, and he has no feats anyway. He just gets dealt with by Yusuke easily. Jin would be a hard to lock down fighter for most people, but Gojo can also fly just like him, and he can use blue spheres to control the environment and limit Jin's flight. Another win for Gojo, and pretty easily at that. I hate to keep repeating this, but Jin also doesn't have a way to bypass Infinity. Risho,
This is what I said at the start. It's like Infinity is the most annoying thing that Gojo has for when it comes to verses. It makes it quite boring.
Similar to other people here, has no real feats to judge him by. And then he just gets one shot by Kuwabara, so I'm giving this to Gojo as well. Now we move on to Team Urotogi. Evil Kentaro is another jobber, no statements and no feats, just another guy that got
he's
murked by
gone.
Hiei. Poison Beach Boy is pretty good though with his adaptability, but as shown, if you can hit him hard enough, you can get him
Was he in the anime? I don't remember seeing him at all.
out of the way, even despite his adaptation. Reverse Urashima seemed to only get a bit of an upper hand on Kurama because of him tricking him, which would have
Well, yeah, I remember this guy because like he was like, "Oh, I want to be a good guy, but just help me out and do this," and then he just doesn't. Yeah.
work on Gojo due to intense sensing,
remember that guy,
and
though.
even if he did trick Gojo, it's not like he has a way to hit him, so it's really that simple that he just get dealt with. Shishi Wakamaru is the first person in this tournament to possess something that could potentially make Gojo lose the tournament with his cloak. If this cloak is able to send Gojo away, since it does appear to be spatial manipulation, there's no telling where Gojo would end up and if he'd be able to teleport back to Earth or not, back to that spot. And even then, it's hard to say how long it would take Gojo to figure out where he needs to teleport to or where he would be at, and even if this teleportation would work to get him back. Shishi Wakamaru says that it's possible for Kuwabara to have even ended up in another dimension when he teleported him, so it's possible Gojo would go that far as well. It's all a really big gamble, and with that being said, if you wanted to say that Gojo would lose here, I'd probably be fine with it, but it'd be hard to say that since it's just up to luck. Gojo does have the more concrete win cons because of this though, with blue, red, purple, or his domain expansion. Suzuki is even weaker than Shishi Wakamaru, and so much so that Genkai didn't even need to use aura on him to beat him. Aside from that, he's blatantly weaker than 30% Toguro by a large amount. This just leads to yet another conclusion where a lack of feats and statements means he's just kinda sucks.
Yeah.
Now, finally getting to Gojo versus Team Yusuke at full power and then Team Toguro. Team Yusuke is down a member at this point since Genkai would have been done in by Toguro,
Yeah.
and Yusuke
Yeah, emotional.
would have obtained his Genkai Orb Amp. I could take this one of two different ways. Team Yusuke doesn't seem to watch their opponents' fights as they're going on. The only real person to do this is Kurama and Hiei on another occasion, but they never seem to know what they're going up against, so Gojo's domain and abilities would still be somewhat of a secret here. However, since I kinda just had them sitting around, maybe they would actually pay attention to some fights this time around, but that's an unknown. If Gojo proposes a 1-on-4, I doubt Hiei would be too interested in doing that, so that probably won't happen. A 1-on-3 is plausible, but considering Yusuke's superiority to both of Kurama and Kuwabara at this point, it's going to be hard working with them in combat. Kuwabara and Kurama going into the fight as a way to test Gojo and what he's capable of is probably the best course of action, although Hiei would be wanting to go fight him immediately. Kuwabara definitely isn't doing anything to Gojo. If this was him from the next arc when he gets his sword that can cut dimensions, it would be a bit more fair, but as it stands, he's not doing
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Because that dimension slicing sword is a okay.
anything. Kurama could possibly
Because yeah, we're talking about dark tournaments. All right. Okay.
do something to Gojo via plants that spit poison gas, but he doesn't have any of those that we know of. I'm just guessing that one of them maybe exists in the demon plane. His ability to plant plants on an opponent's body also would be not applicable here.
Yeah, because how does he do that if again Limitless makes everything so boring?
Because of Infinity, with this being
I mean, yeah,
said, an unlimited hollow purple or domain expansion should be sufficient
you can't touch him. So
in keeping Kurama out of the fight or just outright unaliving him. Next would undoubtedly be Hiei, and without a way to actually harm Gojo, he's also going to just be dealt with. Yusuke is next, and if he truly has above star level durability as I outlined in my other video, then Gojo has no way to hurt him without using his unlimited void. This might not be much of a problem though. Given how Toguro will be the final match, there should be a break before that starts like what occurred in the main series, and if that's the case, Gojo can use his domain without concern because his technique would burn out, but the burnout would be over within a day, and even if it did immediately begin the next match, Gojo could just replenish his burnt out curse technique. Since he'd only have done it once, there would be no drawbacks. I'd imagine when Toguro sees that Yusuke has been defeated, he want to fight Gojo more than anything, And with that, he might even murk the rest of his team like how he did his brother in the original story just to fight Gojo alone. I imagine his brother would do a similar thing as the main story, so Toguro would probably punch him away just like he did in the main story. And if Toguro fights first, like I'm expecting, I'd guess that Karasu and Bui would try to jump Gojo and try to take him out, considering his immense strength. Bui might just outright quit, similar to what he tried against Hiei, but I don't see Karasu doing that. And worst case
I do like these scenarios where it's like, let's make it fit in how the people act. Yeah.
scenario, another unlimited void also takes care of him. Sorry if it feels like I sort of skimmed past a lot of this, but without a way to bypass Infinity, a lot of these guys are genuinely way too slow to avoid any of Gojo's other attacks.
Yeah, Infinity makes the scaling very, very boring.
And on top of that, Gojo has extremely large AoE attacks that let him control gravity and move at high speed, even teleporting in some
Push,
instances.
pull, bam.
So being fair to both sides really just puts Gojo at a major advantage, even against the people who are stronger than him like Yusuke and Toguro. If there are any disagreements or different ways you think I should have had Gojo go through this, you can obviously leave them in the comments below.
I don't see how you can. I don't see how you can. Which is fine. It's just one of those. It's just like, I find it, when you come down to the nitty gritty of it, and you try, it's like, can you touch him? That annoys me. So, yeah, interesting one. I like to see Yu Hakusho stuff because I really enjoyed that. That was like one of this year's like cool little things to check out. But anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video and want to watch patron-only reactions, such as the original Dragon Ball series, and I'm going to be watching Kaiju number 8, link in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all I ask to help support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for that, and thank you all for watching. You guys think of that? You guys think of this? Click like, subscribe. However, leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. See you guys all, you guys, next time.